You're listening to Music Tectonics.
Welcome back to Music Tectonics, where we go beneath the surface of music and tech. I'm your host, Dmitri. I'm also the founder and CEO of Rock, Paper, Scissors, a PR and marketing firm that specializes in music technology and innovation. For the month of August, we're rewinding and playing back some of our favorite guests. Today, we have our very own Chief Creative Officer, Adam McHeffey. But this interview is from back when he was the Chief Marketing Officer at Artiphon, and we talk about all sorts of musical innovation, including the Orba, which put music creation at the fingertips of hobbyists. We also talk about the fusion of music and social media and the new generation of creators redefining the art form. I always love hearing from Adam, and I hope you will too. Welcome back to the show, Adam.
Thank you, Dmitri. I am so happy to be here.
Ooh. So what is the state of the new musical instrument invention as we kick off 2025?
I believe the last time we chatted, I said, I originally, 10 years ago when Artiphon first started, we were sort of the weird kids. We were doing some stuff that nobody had done before. We were creating strange multi-instruments and trying to market them as consumer electronics, and it really was strange. We always felt early, and that's not necessarily a good thing. I'm not bragging here. That actually made business really difficult for a while.
Yeah.
I do think that the world has changed, and I'm looking at several new products that have dropped just in the past 30, 60, 90 days, and I'm really inspired what I see. Search for Orchid, which is a new instrument that Tame Impala helped to create. It looks gorgeous. All of the marketing materials are fantastic. And they're really branding this as a song idea generator, not as an 88-key piano or synthesizer. Look at what Ableton just released with the Ableton Move. Historically, the hardware that Ableton releases is, $800,000, $900,000. This is much less expensive, much more portable, smaller in form factor. And you can even just tell from the way that they're positioning it, the way that they're marketing it, that this is a little bit more of a play towards beginner and novice creators. And you can say the same for several instruments on the software side. I'm always inspired by what Output does. Output just went through a major rebrand, play it out, sing it out, work it out. It's a really sharp marketing campaign. And you saw a lot more diversity in that commercial in terms of the age range of the players, the type of music that they were making. So I really think that this music for the masses is happening right now. I believe that music really is being democratized. There's more music being made than ever before. And I think that we have this evolving technology to thank for it.
Yeah, that's super interesting. As you talk about those form factors as well as the software and the marketing that Output's doing, it does kind of indicate a bit of a shift in a way, right? A sort of like your first instrument might not be what the previous generation's first instrument was. You might not have to pick up a violin or a piano or a guitar or a band instrument as your first instrument. The Orchid that you mentioned, it doesn't even have, what does it have? Like one octave worth of piano keys on it?
Yeah. That's one very small octave.
And you don't have to know what the chords are. You play a note and it plays chords. So there's like this, people are talking about AI and how the impact of AI, but these are just new form factor instruments that you're talking about and new just ways of conceiving of what's your first note going to be, what's your first song going to be.
Absolutely. I think it's all following musical listening tastes in a way, right? Just when I grew up playing guitar, we were listening to Blink-182 and Green Day. So that made guitar lessons really obvious what you were going to learn. Music is wild right now. And there's just no shortage of exploration there. So I think that the instruments are following suit. It's not that crazy for a high schooler's first instrument to be some old beat up laptop with pirated software on it. That's the status quo. That's what my nephew's doing. He doesn't know how to play guitar. He knows how to draw with a pencil in Ableton. And I believe that's just as valid.
Amazing. Wow. What a way to start this conversation off. Let's talk about how Artiphon fits into this. What's new with your company?
Well, there is a new product. It's called Orba 3. And if it seems like we make a lot of Orbas, it's because well, we do. Really, my whole job at the company is just trying to see what the customer is asking for that we're able to put back into the hardware. One of these things is instant sampling. So we have heard from people, we would love to put a few custom sounds on this thing. We would love it if I could put my own sounds on it. We actually did that with Orbit 2, but you had to use the app. It was a clunky process with cables. And so we said, let's just put the microphone right on the device itself. This is what people have wanted for a long time. And it is so fast and so fun. You saw the demos at Music Tectonics. We'll do a lot more demoing at NAMM. Very, very happy to have this out in the world. And so far, there have been rave reviews from customers. People have called it an extremely intuitive sampler, one of the faster samplers out there. And it really, really is fast. And one of the reasons for that is that we've been building on this technology stack for a few years now. So we were able to get this to market relatively quickly and have a relatively smooth experience.
Very cool. So you've got the Orba 3, and you're starting to kind of get feedback from the market that's that's a new way to make music, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just on the product side. In terms of the market, and that's most of what I think about. We're doing so much more with education and music wellness right now, and I see this as one of the biggest goals for 2025. When we survey our customers, what do you do with it? What do you use this for? I always just expect them to say casual creativity, playing on the couch, jamming with friends, and they do say that. But you wouldn't believe how many people come back to us and say, I use this for relaxation. I use this specifically for music therapy. It's unbelievable. I couldn't make it up if I tried. So I see 2025 as a year of really following that thread and seeing where it leads. And some of that is working with different nonprofit partners. Some of it's working with actual music therapists out in the field. We're doing some work with children's hospitals right now. And I think that that's really, really an exciting next step for us.
It's like a hung drum for the Nintendo generation.
Yeah,
You can play it in your pocket.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So speaking of which, what are you seeing in terms of this emerging generation of new music makers? You mentioned that they're using it for wellness, and it just seems like that Artiphon and the Orba kind of represents this emergence of people. You mentioned your nephew, this emergence of people who aren't following a traditional path, but they are making music. They may or may not be releasing music, or maybe not yet, but and you guys also seem kind of associated with a lot that's happening in the social video world as well. Anyway, what are you seeing in terms of this emerging generation of people who are making music that may not fit the traditional demographic or stereotype?
I think the creators who are successful on social media right now are the ones who are understanding that the videos, the content that you create, really, it doesn't have to be separate from the music creation. There are a lot of people, and they're completely valid with this opinion. It's like, you spend all this time learning and creating music. Why do I also then have to make a video of it? I don't blame them for feeling that way, but I also think that they're more frustrated than their peers who are embracing that and learning how to be creative within the video music format. You have these creators who are releasing a single, making several music videos for it, different formats, different parts of the song, live version. It's actually not all that different than it was 10 or 20 years ago. But the people who are nailing that and really leaning into that, I see them doing best on social media and having the most fun with it. And so when I think about if I were working with a young creator or suggesting to a young creator how to begin to leverage all of these different social platforms, that'd probably be my recommendation, is to treat it like this is a holistic art form. And there's absolutely a way to do that, and still be, true to yourself and true to your music, and just have this really colorful display. Music has always had a visual component to it. It's had a video component to it for a very long time. So I don't see that as entirely new. And I'm inspired when people do it really well. Those are some of my favorite accounts to follow.
Yeah.
And then to your question about, just emerging trends here, you said, I'll use my nephew as an example. You're right. He's not releasing albums right now. That's not on the radar for him at all. I think this might be new. When I was growing up and playing in bands, making the record, selling the records, going on tour, like those were the goals. I think that more music is being made now just for personal fun and personal, personal
Right.
consumption. Playing it as a hobby, which is of course so obvious and why it's there. I see people forming bands not for the sake of trying to go viral on Spotify, but rather just to enjoy it. And I certainly hope that trend continues.
Yeah, it's interesting. Also, back in late October at the Music Tectonics conference, while you're over on stage, well, what was it? The day after you were on stage at the Creator Fair, we had Mark Mulligan and Tatiana Cirasano having this debate about the listen platforms versus the play platforms. And I think this is where this convergence is happening between the recording industry and the musical instrument field, where people go from listening to playing, and they might be playing in a way that's, it's the first thing they can do, the easy access, not the your parents got you lessons to musical instruments, but it's more like, oh, I'm video gaming 1 minute, and then I'm literally using my same thumbs that I'm using on a video game controller on an Orba and starting to make some beats or some loops and things like that. And so it's got that interactive quality it's not for specifically because you're following your educational path that your parents put in front of you, and it's not for professional necessarily.
What happens if you take that 3 or 5 steps further? What happens when the two truly converge? What if the listening experience isn't all that different than the playing experience? It's something that certain companies, easier to do with software, I think, are starting to experiment with. The ever-changing song, being able to remix it, whether it's Billie Eilish releasing Ocean Eyes on Logic Pro so people could play along with it. I think that's a starter version of it. Here's Logic Pro. This is a DAW that you're able to play with. We're giving you Billie Eilish and Phineas's session for Ocean Eyes so you can learn how they did it. You can play around with the tracks. We are giving you the pieces, have fun. That to me represents maybe the start of a new way of we're listening and we're interacting with the music at the same time. And that's just one of 100 examples. I'm very excited for that momentous change.
Yeah, super cool. Hey, we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, let's dig a little bit more into the relationship between social video creators and the musical instrument professional industry, let's say. We'll be right back.
Why should your startup attend the Music Tectonics conference? First, the networking. This conference is designed with time, space, and atmosphere to help you truly connect. We're talking real conversations, not rushed introductions. Second, getting business done. Every year, startups meet new partners, clients, and even investors. With built-in breaks and casual hangouts, Music Tectonics gives you the space to build relationships outside of panels and keynotes. And third, leveling up. The third day of the conference is all about startups. Programming and networking are designed specifically to help you move to the next phase of your business. Whether you're raising, scaling, or launching something bold, Music Tectonics is where innovation meets opportunity.
Okay, we're back. This has been super interesting already. Great icebreaker conversation so far, hearing what you're up to and starting to get some big picture context here. Something that's really intriguing to me, which came out at the Music Tectonics Creator Fair, was this relationship between these social video makers and the musical instrument companies themselves, and sort of like what the relationships and the dynamics are there. Are musical instrument companies sort of capturing the excitement of these video creators, engaging with them, et cetera? How do social video makers fit into the musical instrument world today? I mean, you've talked about it in terms of those just organic creativity that's happening there, but what else are you seeing as it relates to the industry that we're about to meet up with at NAMM?
So when we're talking, so this is just marketing advice then. You can't launch a new instrument without a robust creator engagement plan. Doing my best to avoid the words influencer marketing, just because it's got a stigma these days. Call it creator engagement.
Okay, change that in the documents, team.
And that can really that can really span in what we're talking about. This could be your user-generated content plan. We could be talking about macro or micro influencers, or we could be talking about celebrities. And even if you're just choosing to do a handful of those, even if you only have a few prototypes to send out, this is going to be an important part of any musical instrument release, hardware or software. And there are a few reasons for that. One is, despite how good you are at spending money on Meta, until you have real third-party validation by real people really playing the instrument, people are going to question whether it's real or not. A lot of these newer musical instrument companies are using Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a platform that I love. Artiphon would not be where it was without it. But there are a lot of projects that don't get funded there. So people have their guard up around new musical instruments and new form factors. It's very hard to manufacture stuff these days. It's very hard to deliver on exactly what you set out to do. And so making sure that you're putting your product in the hands of a few artists, creators, power users, making sure that those videos make their way onto YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Don't forget, people, Facebook is bigger than YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. If you want to hamstring your business really fast, forget about Facebook. But that is where most of the world is, 3 billion users. And if only you're doing the work to seed user-generated content and making sure that you're adding that to your website, sharing that, turning that into your advertisements, you're going to want some version of real people really playing. But take it one step further. Let's say you do have everything you need to launch a really great campaign here. What an amazing opportunity to test different markets. There are absolutely, hundreds and hundreds of creators specifically that review musical instrument products. But go beyond that. Let's say you do have a product specifically for wellness. Well, now you can tap into an influencer network that is so much more expansive. Maybe what you do is specifically musical instruments for education. Well, there's so many online music educators with great personalities who maybe could really put a different spin on this. And when you use creators in your marketing, you win twice. You win by getting a great piece of content, something different than what your brand is able to produce. And then you win again when they share it to their own audience. So you really always just maximizing your efforts there. I've never walked away from a well thought through creator engagement campaign and said that wasn't worth it. It lives on and on for years in a way that maybe paid social advertising does not.
You guys are masters at this too. I remember when we first met a few years ago, going to your website, and it was just a bunch of videos of people using your instrument. And I was like, wait, am I on Pinterest? No, this is the Artiphon website. And it's just like video after video. I know it's in the community highlights section of your website.
We still do that. No, we still do that. If you go to artiphon.com and you scroll to the bottom, you will see this. It actually is endless. It just keeps scrolling. There are thousands of videos from users. It used to be that we didn't vet those at all. We would just, if you tagged Artiphon, it just appeared there automatically. And that got a little too dangerous as we grew as a company. But we were on the bleeding edge of that one. And we still make sure to do that, adding these videos to the checkout page and making sure you're sharing this with retail partners. It's a great way to very quickly get people to wrap their head around the instrument, whatever it is.
I mean, you guys are a role model for how we approach it now at Rock, Paper, Scissors with clients as well, which is super cool to see. But I mean, if you want to see an engaged community, go to the Artiphon website or Instagram and see what's happening there.
Appreciate you saying that.
And, you are a great music educator. We invited you to interview social video influencer Sides on stage at the Music Tectonics Creator Fair last October, which was great. Your talk with her was amazing.
Very fun.
You guys were just dropping gold after platinum. I'm curious, did you learn anything new from her? What came out of that conversation?
She had all sorts of just tidbits, right? Just people were scribbling in their notebooks the entire time. What I learned from her personally she was unapologetically cutthroat with her approach towards business and just looking out for her own well-being at the same time. You can tell, she's found a way to build her business, generate revenue, surprisingly good amount of it for a sole proprietorship, only take on brands clients that she wants to. And it seems that she's done this without compromising her artistic integrity at all. In fact, it seems that now she's got her business and her money figured out. She feels more creative and happy than ever. It's been a while since I've seen somebody so blatantly say all of that very clearly and just put all of that on display and say, this is how I've engineered my life. I put a lot of time into thinking about how I want it to go. And then I executed on it. And it took me 4 years. And here I am. And I'm not, hopefully not putting words in her mouth. Go look at some of her Instagram content recently. This is the sort of overarching lesson that I'm inspired by from her is it's okay to ask for what you want. It's okay to shape up your life any way that you want it. And it's okay to focus on things like revenue generation while also being a musician and making music that you love. She's found a way to do that really well.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what I heard from her as well when you interviewed her on stage. And by the way, if you want to look her up on Instagram, her name's Sabrina Seidman, but her username is Sides, SEIDS _ on Instagram. She's on other platforms too, but that's the big one. And I think she started generating a following by doing Logic Pro tips quite a lot. And that's a big focus of her content. But she also demonstrates instruments and, tells people about events she's going to, and also just makes music. And I remember she said, she didn't want to be tied to kind of the A&R expectations of a record label. And so she developed these multiple revenue streams to give her that creative freedom that you were talking about, Adam. And now she teaches other people how to do the same thing. So she's kind of, she's the Tony Robbins of musical instrument creators in a way, minus any concerns you have with Tony Robbins. She's not going to make you walk across coals barefooted. But
not yet.
But
maybe I could see her doing that at the Sides Instagram, TikTok boot camp in 2027.
Yeah. Maybe so, but she's very inspirational and she is very she feels very authentic and transparent about what she's doing, why she's doing it, how she's doing it, and inviting other people in as well, which is super cool. Who are some other interesting social video influencers we should be paying attention to?
I'm not going to give you any of the obvious ones.
Okay.
Seth Davis at imsethdrums asks AI to generate hit country songs, and then he plays drums along to them. And we hear them for the first time with him. So he's a good drummer, but he's cracking up so hard that he can barely play.
I'd love it.
socialrepose. This is an artist who dresses sort of like a witch, warlock, warrior, Gwarish from some other century and plane of existence, and goes in front of waterfalls which look like they are in a different, very, very different country than the United States, maybe Iceland or something. And he plays covers from the early 2000s in a very emo voice, but he's got an extremely strong voice and everybody comments on it. Am I supposed to like this? I'm not really sure, but I can't help but watch all of your videos. And I feel the exact same way. I just listen to it and feel something in my soul. You think it's meant to be a joke, and then you start watching it. The thing that these two accounts have in common is that they found something so particular, and they ran with it. I don't think that, I've probably watched dozens of videos from each of those creators. I don't think that they've ever deviated from the template that I just told you about. Yeah. Everybody loves it. It's so either funny or emotional. I'm always left either cackling or just feeling a little bit more levity in my chest. Both of these accounts feel like they're always giving me something, a little respite just from a stressful day maybe. And they're both just very, very strange and different. And I like that an awful lot. And certainly you need to do something different if you want to stand out these days. I feel like both of those people didn't try too hard to find it. It just felt right for them in the moment, and then they continue to iterate on it.
Yeah, they've got the discipline to stick with it. I mean, I remember, the emergence of Vine. It's so funny. Everyone talks about TikTok, but literally Vine was the first TikTok, and there's still some Vine videos floating around. I feel like these social video platforms have given musicians and musical people what comedians already had in a way, because a lot of those Vines were skits, right? And it's almost like, what you just described, these folks have a particular format that they've created, and then they continue to hone, right? They keep going back to those same idioms or that same format in such a way that it's, you always talk about in art, having restrictions actually increases creativity, right? Because you have to stay within these certain bounds, and you get more and more creative within that. There's like this ricochet effect of what are the few variables that you can tweak. And then it's kind of like genre in a way. I've always thought about music. To really understand a genre of music, you have to know what rules have to stay there, and then you have to know what rules you break or change to become your individual voice. That makes you an icon or a beacon within your genre. And it's like they've created their own genres, and they're not music specific. Sometimes they're visual genres, right?
Absolutely. You should teach music or art theory or something, Dmitri. I don't know what I can add on to that. But yeah, it's almost like you don't get extra points for trying to come up with new styles of video as a brand or an artist, right? It's like repeating yourself is sort of the whole trick. And obviously he's not singing the same song every time. Obviously McHeffey is finding a new AI cowboy country song, but we know what to expect every time we come back. And I think we like that. I mean, we're going onto Instagram, let's admit it, to turn off our brain for a split second. It's nice wondering what they're going to do next. Now I really am along for the journey. Did you see the latest one he did? So funny. So I think that there's a lot of power in repetition there.
Right. It's like the format helps communicate to you as the listener or the viewer that you're on the inside. Once you know what the format is, you get it.
Yeah.
The next time you see one of their videos, you're not, what the hell are they doing looking like a warlock?
Right.
Why are they doing country songs with AI? You don't have to ask those questions. You can more be like, oh, now I see. You start to see those artistic variations from song to song or video to video, which is pretty cool. I have another broad level question, Adam, I want to ask you. And it's something that we come back to a lot at Music Tectonics. I think it's something that you and I are both interested in personally. And I assume that our listeners, if you're out there listening, I'm assuming this is a topic that you're okay that I keep bringing our guests back to. But Adam, I want to get your perspective. What connections do you see, if any, between the musical instrument industry and the recording industry? And I think it's interesting because they are oddly separate industries, right? You don't see a lot of people jump from career to working at a musical instrument company and then working at a record label. That's not a common pathway. I do think that not everybody, lots of people in the record industry or working at a streaming service are also musicians.
Yes.
So they know that world. They might go and buy a bunch of guitar pedals. They might buy synths, but somehow from a business perspective, they have different target audiences or something, which keeps them kind of in these separate worlds. But I think Artiphon in your work starts to make it feel like these things are converging. When you partner with an artist, whether they're going to have samples on one of your instruments or because they're a creator that's out there that, maybe they're on Instagram and TikTok, and maybe they do put some songs out on Spotify as well. Anyway, what connections do you see between these formerly siloed industries?
I definitely believe they're becoming less siloed. So I'm with you there. One of the Warner Music Group led Artiphon's Series A. So case in point, that's a very very close example to Artiphon and everything that we're doing. But why did Warner Music Group do that? Why did they decide to invest in a Nashville tech startup? It's because they understand that technology is going to drive innovation, not just in the instruments that we create, but also the music that's produced. They realize that the listening and interacting conversation that we had before is very real and happening before our eyes, that the super fans of any band are going to want to interact with that music in a bigger way, whether it's by remixing the stems or going to a concert and doing some augmented reality experience on an app. Who knows where the chips are going to land with this? And who knows what fans and users are actually going to want to do? But it's getting closer and closer. Another good example of this is that Loog, the guitar company that specifically makes guitars for children, fantastic company with a great brand, just did a partnership with the Beatles catalog. And now you can learn Beatles songs on this 3-string guitar. How genius is that? This is typically a pretty difficult catalog to access here. But I think that the mission there is so clear and so strong. Let's get more kids learning these Beatles covers. What a fantastic library of music to use in educational materials. It just all makes sense. So that to me is an example of a really close partnership between a catalog of music and the rights holders there and a musical instrument company. So it's happening every day. And I'm sure there are so many more examples that we can look at when we talk into AI and STEM separation. But those are just a handful that come to mind. There's no question that there's more meetings on the books between labels and instrument companies than ever before.
Well, and I do want to talk about AI a little later in this conversation, but I am really intrigued by what you just said, because one of the problems that I've struggled to sort of solve around this connection between the musical instrument world and the recording industry is I thought that maybe the recording industry should be paying attention to the music creation generation because it's a top of funnel A&R pool, right? Like these people that are messing with new stuff, whether it's new gear and new software, new genres, new styles, new idioms, formats, they're going to be the ones that are going to be listened to in the future. But you pointed out this with the Loog guitar example, there's also another level of engagement from existing fans of existing music to say, yeah, sure, you can listen to this stuff on streaming services. Maybe you'll buy some vinyl. Maybe for artists, not the Beatles, but for artists that are, still touring, you can go out and buy tickets and engage in that way and so forth. I struggled to see what is the monetization play for the recording industry with the musical instrument world, but you just pointed out a great one, which is, yeah, you might be able to license this music at a higher rate for people who are playing the songs, learning the songs, rather than just listening to the songs.
That's where my mind goes. I'm on the inside of it, right? I work for a musical instrument company, so that's the lens through which I see all of this. But there's so much more to it, right? I mean, artists will always be leading the conversation around culture. A musical instrument company that thinks they're going to lead the conversation around culture they're just mistaken. I've tried it. Very difficult. You attach yourself to the cultural conversation. You don't get the person to star in a commercial. You get them to use the instrument on stage or on the tour bus, and you catch a candid photo of that. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's another reason for musical instrument companies to make sure that they are doing the work to find some roster of artists, whether it's through a record label or not.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. That was a great little dive into that connection. And I look forward to continuing that conversation with you and the rest of the music tectonics community. I've noticed that the musical instrument community and the music creation software community has adopted music tectonics from day one. Mm-hmm. They were the ones that were really interested. We're talking about streaming services and social video and so forth. And they showed up saying, this is our world. And that's where I think, a lot of this community comes from, is people just being interested in music and looking for what's new. So it's interesting to get a little more specific there about what those business connections can be. So I thank you for that. We do have to take one more quick break, and I do have to ask you about AI. Sorry, folks. We're going to have that talk in just a second.
Time's running out to get your early bird ticket for the Music Tectonics Conference. Right now, you can secure yours for just $349. On August 19th, the price goes up to $399. Head on over to musictectonics.com to get your badge before the price jump.
All right, we're back. I don't need every single Music Tectonics podcast episode to have mention of artificial intelligence.
Yes, you do.
But it is moving fast. There's a lot going on here. And, in some ways, you could say the music industry, the recording industry is in turmoil over the impact of AI and music creation. Do musical instrument companies care about what's going on with AI? And if so, what are the conversations you're hearing there?
Every time I walk into a room and this conversation comes up with one of these companies that's doing a lot with AI, everybody seems to say the same thing, which is we want the tools to empower. We don't want to replace anything or anybody. This is meant to shorten the technology workflow. That's what I hear. So it's interesting that the world is, I think that in general, musicians are fearful of AI and they're worried that this is going to take over creativity. I haven't heard anybody like behind closed doors go like, "Mwahaha, this is finally going to do it." And I don't know anybody who wants that. Is it possible, Dmitri, that on a Music Tectonics podcast between me and you, and me supposed to having all the answers about music tech, is it possible that my answer is just like, I don't think people care all that much? Because that's sort of how it feels within the musical instrument community. There are all sorts of chord generation tools. There are all sorts of things that'll just write the entire song for you. I don't see people using that. What I see people using are AI tools that provide a great deal of utility. I'll give you a few examples. I think AudioShake has an unbelievable product, and they actually won Time Best Invention of the Year last year, which is huge. And the reason for that is it serves a very particular purpose that no normal intelligence could do. Our normal, squishy, anxious intelligence can't do stem separation. They have a product that can take a 50-year-old Aretha Franklin recording and separate the drums from the vocal, from the bass, from the guitar. That is useful for dozens and dozens of applications. I like that. I think about Lander, which is AI mastering. And there is a lot that goes into mastering and a lot of work that goes into the craft of learning how to master a song. But with so much music being made these days, basic things like normalization and equalization are things that AI can do extremely well in a more cost-effective way. If that lets more creators get their sound out there in a way that allows it to hit and feel better, that to me seems like a very powerful improvement. None of those are replacements for anything or anybody. Those are new technologies with new affordances that allow us to do interesting, novel things that have never previously been possible, or they allow us to move faster and quicker and focus on the elements of creativity that we really want to. I'm sure there are some people out there trying to completely upend everything that we're doing in terms of playing our guitars and our keyboards and all of that. But for the most part, those are the tools that I'm using in my daily workflow and that I'm seeing other people use as well.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's super, super valuable to hear that perspective. And it'll be interesting to see whether some of the more fearful folks out there, whether anything that they're thinking is going to come true as well. I saw some reference to the idea that actually it was on a media research webinar back in December when I heard their predictions for 2025. And one of their commenters or analysts said that AI would inspire a lot of creativity at first, and then in the long term, it might feel a little bit more like it's creating too much random content, maybe lower quality content too. So there could be like a cycle that's happening as well.
I definitely see that. Think about ChatGPT. I think if you use ChatGPT to write your Instagram comments, I think the world can smell it and your time is up. We all use it. There's no way to avoid it these days, but you have to use it sparingly. You have to use it in pieces. You have to use it when it counts, and it will never be a replacement for hard work. We're talking a lot about music and tech, but I'm a marketer. I sent thousands and thousands of emails over Black Friday, Cyber Monday with multivariate testing on all of them. Every time, this is a John Henry story, every time I did my subject line using my regular intelligence versus an AI generated line, either generated through Klaviyo or ChatGPT, and not once did it beat me.
There you have it,
So
folks.
be careful.
The Adam
Be
McHeffey
careful where you
AI
put your
test
money.
is in.
AI tested every single time, and lots of different tests. Making sure there's emojis in both, doing my best to control it, and so I again, that's email marketing. There's so much more we can talk about on the marketing side of all of this, but in general, I think that people will wise up if suddenly all of our music sounds exactly the same. And we're going to have to find new ways to tweak that and rehash it and pull from it what we like and leave behind what we don't. It's going to change really quickly and violently. And that in and of itself might be the next musical revolution.
Yeah. You're sort of pointing to there's still a human curation component. Even if you spit something into AI and spit something out of AI, there's still somebody who's selecting, like, does that meet muster, right? And then the other piece of your story about marketing emails and A/B testing is not everybody has the mind of Adam McHeffey. So some people, AI might generate better content than they do.
I don't know. I mean, none of it's that good. It's just, buy more stuff. I mean, anybody. I believe you have it in you, listener out there, to craft your own song.
Well, I mean, one thing that's for sure is that AI is always trained on something else. It's generative content. It's derivative content, right? So it's derived from something else. Whereas if it comes from your mind, it is from you. So it's not derivative, right? Yeah. It's original. It's derivative from your experience, but there's a lot of originality inputs that are coming in every time you create something new, whether it's a song, a motif, or a subject line on an email.
It'll be interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah. Okay, one last question. You're heading to NAMM this month, just in a couple of weeks, actually. What are your favorite things at NAMM, and what should the rest of us look out for?
Okay. So at NAMM, there's all sorts of wonderful things. I will just quickly say that we'll be at the John Lennon Bus. We're doing demos at the John Lennon Bus all throughout the show. John Lennon Bus is a 501c3 that goes around giving music education in a traveling studio form to cities all around the country and the world. So stop by the John Lennon Bus if you're interested in partnering with some of that. There are all sorts of things I'm looking forward to. Some of my favorite booths every year is the Casio booth. I think is always gorgeous, and they always have a pretty big footprint there. I am looking forward to seeing Rolly back at the show floor. Rolly is one of you might say that Artiphon and Rolly are peers. Always pushing the boundaries of what a musical instrument can be. They released a bunch of new products this year, and they've got a pretty large footprint. So I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. There's several others. I always check out the Donner booth, which is a fascinating company. Again, a lot of shared design intent with Artiphon, and I like so a little bit of friendly competition there. I always like to stop by and see what those guys are up to as well. I'll be at the show the whole time, so don't hesitate to reach out and get in touch with me. And seriously looking forward to it.
And if you can't find Adam there, come over to the Rock, Paper, Scissors booth, because Adam has been a longtime client and partner on things, and Artiphon's been connected with us. We'll be glad to make sure you can meet with Adam and find out more about his fancy subject lines, but more importantly about the cool creative instruments that Artiphon's putting out. Also, Adam, I hope you'll join us on January 25th on Saturday at the MIDI Association's booth. We're going to be doing an innovators meetup at 12 noon. So we want you there, and we want all our listeners to come.
I believe you can win an Orba 3 there. Is that what we're
at our booth? Yeah, at the Rock, Paper, Scissors booth, we'll be doing.
Rock, Paper, Scissors.
We'll let people know at the meetup too. We've got an Orba 3 that you could win by signing up, as well as a Blip Blocks and a We Are Rewind cassette player, a retro Bluetooth cassette player as well. So lots of reasons to come hang out with the posse at Rock, Paper, Scissors and Artiphon and at the MIDI Association. So should be fun. Adam, I can't wait to see you in a couple weeks. This has been great. Thanks for sharing so much great information and all your insights, and really appreciate your kind of bird's eye view of what's going on.
Thank you, Dmitri. Looking forward to NAMM.
Thanks for listening to Music Tectonics. If you like what you hear, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We have new episodes for you every week. Did you know we do free monthly online events that you, our lovely podcast listeners, can join? Find out more at musictectonics.com. And while you're there, look for the latest about our annual conference and sign up for our newsletter to get updates. Everything we do explores the seismic shifts that shake up music and technology, the way the Earth's tectonic plates cause quakes and make mountains. Connect with Music Tectonics on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. That's my favorite platform. Connect with me, Dmitri Vitsa, if you can spell it. We'll be back again next week, if not sooner.
You're listening to Music Tectonics.